Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for making the time to join us. My name is Jean Chawapiwa. I'm the Country Director for We Connect International in South Africa. We've been really fortunate to have a partnership with Procter and Gamble in South Africa. Through that partnership for this year, we're running 10 webinars, 10 coaching sessions, and 3 training sessions from women-owned businesses. P&G is really focusing on making sure they understand how the women-owned businesses are coping within the COVID environment and seeing how we can help you to rethink, rebuild, re-strategize in this new world. Today, we have one of the P&G experts, Jide, who's going to talk about digital transformation. I'm going to hand straight over to Mikhail, who's going to introduce himself and Jide and take us straight into the webinar. Thank you for joining.
Thanks, Jean. Hi, everyone. I'm Mikhail. I'm the Media Purchasing Manager for P&G South Africa. I'm also on the BEE team and manage that from a preferential procurement and supply and enterprise development perspective. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to facilitate part of this session. And just a few reminders, if you can all stay on mute, please. And like Jean said, all the questions post through in the chat box, and we'll touch on some of those at the halfway point and then at the end again. So I'll now hand over to Jide, and Jide, it's all yours.
Thank you, Mikhail. Thank you, Jane. I'm very happy and glad and humbled to have this conversation with women leaders in South Africa and across Africa, for those who are joining. My name is Jide. I'm going to start by giving you a brief introduction about myself, and then we'll go into the topic of today. Right. And I'm hoping everyone can see my screen and you can hear me pretty well. Good. Yeah. Now that's me. You can see me on the video in my post-COVID haircut, right? But that's how I look in the picture on a normal pre-COVID days, right? My name is spelled J-I-D-E, but pronounced Jide, right? And from an educational background, I had my first degree in computer science from the University of Lagos, and I have also an MBA from the Lagos Business School. Right, and then I joined P&G in 2012, right, so I'm 8 years in the company. I have lived in 3 countries, worked in 3 countries, and worked for about 15 countries across Europe, Africa, and Asia, right, and my major areas of impact are around digital transformation, data analytics, project program management, etc., etc. I have a strong leaning towards coaching and mentoring, which is why it was very easy for me to volunteer to have this discussion with this team. Right. My very first role in the company was in the plant. Right. So I started my role in 2012 as the IT person in a plant in Ibadan, in a city in Nigeria, and then we moved into the offices in digitizing the sales space. Right. And then I moved into marketing. Then I went to Nairobi for my very first international assignment, right? And I led the Nairobi IT organization. Then in 2019, I moved to Joburg, right? And I'm currently the CIO for P&G South Africa. My skills and interests, I'm very, very keen on app development. That's what my educational and my training is, right? And then, of course, project management in bringing the app that I have developed to life, right? That's basically what project management is all about. Data and analytics is one of my interests also, and building knowledge, right? So I have a vast array of skills or interests in what I like to do, what I like to learn, right? In terms of hobbies, sports is a pretty good hobby of mine, right? My doctor says I'm pretty old for a few sports these days, but I try to still dabble in one or two. I'm pretty good in, I enjoy my culinary habits. COVID has helped me get a few more recipes under my sleeve, thankfully. Right. Travel is also pretty big for me, and then of course the performance arts, movies, novels, reading, etc., etc. That's me in a nutshell, right? Now we're going to go into the digital transformation, and this is a very interesting topic and very topical for me also because the organizations that I led, right, went through this journey also. And I'll take you through the reasons why we went through it and the framework in which we used and are currently using to transform our entire organization. Now, My objective is to make you understand just a little bit about technology, right? But my bigger objective is to inspire you, right? So that you know exactly what is possible, right? I'll be sharing a bit of stories, examples of the work I've done, of what I've witnessed, right? I'm not going to make you an expert in tech by the end of my 30 minutes conversation, no, right? But I'm going to ensure that you are inspired to take some next steps, right? I'll also be sharing some mistakes, right, that people have done, right, so that you can learn from them. If I'm speaking too fast, as I sometimes try to do, Mikhail, please bring me back, right? At some few slides, I would encourage you to ask a few questions. I will encourage you to actually interact. So a few slides, I will say, can you answer a few questions? Please feel free to go into the chat box on WebEx and type the answers to the questions that I will ask so that I can get a bit of interaction. And I have removed all technical jargon from my slides, right? In case some slipped, right, I would crave your indulgence, and please just also use the chat box to ask me any questions on any big words that I might seem to have said, right? So that it doesn't fly over your head, the concepts that I'm talking about. Good. So the presentation is going to be broken down into three parts: the what, the why, and the how. Right. We will dwell a lot more on the how because the what and the why are pretty easy conversations. So we'll start with the what. Right. Now, what is digital transformation? I will break it down into three concepts, and you will hear me use a few of these concepts throughout this conversation. The first concept is digitization, and digitization is simple. Digitization is simply the conversion of analog into digital. So, for instance, we have a newspaper like the New York Times that has print media. If New York Times wants to convert their news media into websites, that's digitization. Right now, my reporting can be done on paper. Right, so I have my bookkeeping done on paper. Once I want to put my bookkeeping to a system and make it digital, that's digitization, right? So you hear me use this word over and over again. Second concept is digitalization. Seems very simple, but there's a slight nuance involved. Digitalization is when new business models come out or are being created as a result of digital technology. So, for instance, if when the New York Times go on the internet and now decide to create podcasts or create videos or go on YouTube or create new business streams as a result of digital media, that's digitalization. Revenue is coming in as a result of the new ways you are using digital technology. Digitization, simply conversion from analog to digital, manual to automated. Digitalization is new business models, new opportunities, new revenue streams. Now, what is digital transformation? And it's good that I went through all these steps so that people don't think that digital transformation is simply technology. It's a whole lot more, right? The digital transformation is when I coordinate or leverage technology, people, and processes to improve my business performance. So it's not just about technology, it's more about transformation. It's more about people, right? So it's important to have that at the back of your mind that buying a few applications or a few software products doesn't mean you have transformed your organization, right? And of course, as I said, it's an overall improvement of the way of working and of the efficiency of an organization. I will give you examples and stories as we go along, but that's the point, that's the crux in which we're going to talk about how to leverage tech, people, and processes to improve our business performance. And that's the what. Let's not talk about the why. Why is this important and why should we do this, right? First of all, it's important to make informed business decisions, right? Because organizations that go through a digital transformational journey will have a lot of data as an output, right? Data helps you understand what your customer wants, who are your top best customers, who are the ones that are lagging, etc., etc. Right? So this availability of data will ensure that you have data-driven insights, both from an internal point of view, that's your own data, and external point of view, as actually your customer data, the macroeconomic data, etc., etc. Right? So there will be data-driven insights in the decision that you are making. Secondly, your efficiency will be massively improved. Now, we're currently going through this same journey in P&G South Africa, right? And one of the things we're doing is we are eliminating manual reporting, and I'll tell you why in a few slides. Now, last week, right, once we finished the first set of automated reports, we realized that the manual report was taking one of our employees 6 days in a month to collect, collate, analyze, and report. 6 days in a month. So by automating that, we have made him 30% much more productive. So he has 30% of his time to be more productive to the company. That's only on one employee. So imagine these efficiencies happening on various members of your organization. The entire organization will be massively improved, right? And be very, very agile. Every part of our organizations can be improved, right? And everything can go digital. And then the last reason is to create an agile organization. An agile organization helps you to respond very quickly to competitive actions, right? Or to external threats, or to changing landscapes, right? Now, the drawback of our traditional way of setting up our organizations is that we are pretty slow to respond. Right? But by transforming your organization digitally, your organization will have speed, right, to actually change or to shift. And I'll also give you examples of this in a few slides down the line. So we've discussed the what, and we've discussed the why. And another small why will be that your organization will become very attractive to employees, especially millennials, right? Because the millennials don't know any other way of life except the digital life. So coming into an organization that is run digitally completely will be a little bit more interesting versus the alternative. That's one more reason that it's important for digital transformation to go through by organizations. So discuss the how, and this is where we will focus more on this conversation. How do we go on this journey, this digital transformational journey? Right now, I'm going to show you guys the digital transformational network framework. This framework is what has been used. I have used, and is also industry relevant, right? You see, it's also been used by members of the tech industry to transform organizations. Right? And I'll take you through them very quickly here. So first of all, there needs to be organizational buy-in, top down, from management down to every employee. Needs to buy into why it's important that my digital transformation should happen. Right. Second, there should be digitization, data, and automation. Now remember the word digitization, right? We talked about that a few slides ago. I'm sure everyone is very clear on what that means. Third is you should upskill your employees for future growth. Build their skills up. Fourth is your processes should be perfected, right? Or re-engineered in some cases. And then the last one is you assess the organization. Where are we now? Once we've gone through this, are we at the right place? If we are not, what do we need to do much better? And then of course it's a cycle. Now at the center of this is the customer. Right. Now the reason why we do all of this so that we can better serve our customers. A very efficient organization is better placed to serve the customer better, right, versus a less efficient organization. Now, a customer in this case can be both your internal or your external customers. Your internal customers are your employees, right? And then your external customers are the ones who you serve, who make your business a going concern. Either your clients or the consumers or your customers, depending on the kind of business model you are running. So we're going to touch on each of the circles, surrounding circles, the 5 surrounding circles, right? We will focus a little bit more on digitization and upskilling, right? And then we'll glance a bit on the processes and the assessment, right? For the purpose of this conversation. I have put in at the end of the slide some references. in case anybody listening to me wants to do some deep dive or some extra reading, please feel free to, once you get the slides, you can do extra homework. Good. Now, org buying is important, and it always starts from the top. Digital transformation is everybody's responsibility, right? Not just IT. I've seen instances where leaders, I'll use the word abdicate, the digital transformation of their organizations to the IT function or the IT department, right? That is not going to work because there's always going to be a struggle, right, between IT and every other person else, because no one will see it. So the first point of call for transforming an organization is start from the top, right? Let every management personnel have an idea of why it's important, buy into it, and then we deploy it top down so that every employee understands the journey that the organization is going to walk through, right? So it's everybody's responsibility. And of course, buying should begin and flow from management. And which is why I'm pretty glad I'm talking to business leaders, right? And which is where the idea should start from. Good. Now we're going to digitization, data, and automation, right? And we'll flesh this a little more. What's important is that as business leaders, we need to understand technology, right? I've seen in my work with distributors, and to give you guys the perspective, P&G's output or P&G's sales, I think in Africa, about 60 to 70% flow through distributors. So our distributors are very strong partners in this part of the world, right? In Asia, it's also similar. In Europe and Americas, it's slightly different, market structure. Now, that means that the quality of our distributor will determine the quality of the output that comes out of the distributor, right? How best they can serve their customers. Right? So most of the work that we do, right, is to partner with our distributors and to ensure that their organizations are transformed and are agile enough to respond and to serve, right? Now, one of the things we start with is to tell the CEOs of these distributors that you need to understand technology. So we deploy technology to the CEO. Sometimes we take them to other markets and do road shows and bring all these groups together just to enlighten their minds so that they see and understand the opportunities that technology can bring. And that is the starting point. That as business leaders, we need to understand technology. We should not abdicate it to the IT function. Right now, the business leaders are not going to execute it, right? But they will know what is possible. Right? Very closely linked to that is that we should not be afraid to invest, because sometimes technology would require a bit of cost, some cheap, some not so cheap, depending on what we want to do. And I'll give you guys a list of some interesting technologies in a few slides down the line. We shouldn't see these costs as expenses. We should look at it as investments, right? Because we should decide what are we going to get from the technology that we are buying, right? And that's what an investment is. It's always an ROI portion of your investments. Now, to really understand the ROI behind your technological investment, you need to understand technology itself. So these two go hand in hand. With your understanding, the hesitancy to invest in technology would reduce, right? And then you can now spend some money on getting technology with the idea on digitization, right? You invest in digitization with the idea of the returns that you're going to get from your investment. Good. Also start small, right? But depending on the size of your company, it's not advisable to go very big. And I've seen this happen, unfortunately, for a few partners that we had, where they decided from 0 to 100 in a few months, right? The process change or the mindset shift of an organization to go through those huge leaps of transformation might be daunting for any organization. So start small, right? Now, say you can start with collaborative apps, right? Like Google Suits, Money.com, Slack. Some are free, depending on how big your organization is. You can get the free version. If your organization is really extensive, then you probably need to invest in maybe O365 that has a whole suite of applications like Outlook for your emails, Teams for your collaboration, SharePoint, etc., etc. Right. So, and then there are tiers, pricing tiers that you can use to based on your organizational need. So it starts small with collaborative apps. Now, the plus about collaborative apps is it brings you closer to your customers or your partners or vendors, right? So they seem to be sitting next to you because you are chatting. We don't need to send an email and wait, or you don't need to wait for that call or that meeting. You can just drop a very quick instant message, right? If you are both on the same collaborative technology, right? Now the good about this is once you start small, you cannot go to the next stage, and then you can automate your critical business functions. You can now go big and automate or digitize your major business functions like sales or marketing or logistics, right? You can create your ERPs, your accounting software. You can now go big by investing in these technologies. The plus about these technologies is in the amount of data it gives to the organization, right? And that's the problem with an organization that is very low on the digital scale. Data is either manual or very disjoint, right? But investing in state-of-the-art technology will bring your data in a digital format and collate it together nicely, which is why it was easy for us as a company to move through our digital journey, right? Because most of our systems most of our functions were digitized, right? And then once you've digitized your big functions, you can now start going into smaller processes. And I'll give you an example. Sales as a function is clearly digitized in P&G, right? So we use SAP, one of the biggest ERP systems to manage selling to our customers, etc., etc. But there are small business processes within the selling function that could still be manual, right? Like calling on your customers. How do I know how many leads I have out there? How do I know how many leads are meant to be converted? How do I know how much money am I meant to make this month, right? In terms of closing my leads, right? So there could be a few processes within a function that might remain manual and might require automation. And from my experience, this is where the biggest productivity comes from, because people will there's a huge system, there's a huge ERP or a huge selling system, but then when I get the data, I need to do a lot of manual work to bring it to what I want to bring it to the format in which I want to bring it to. Or my MD needs it in this nice format, I need to prepare it for 2 days, etc., etc. Right? So those processes need to be understood and digitized. And I've put on the screen two very interesting technologies that can help, right? Microsoft O365 is very vast. That's the old Office suite. It gives you your Excel, PowerPoint, etc., etc. Also gives you interesting technologies like Power BI, right, or Microsoft Flow. Every action that every employee does repetitively can be automated. I'll say that again. Every action an employee does repetitively can be automated using O365. Whenever you see that we need these reports every week or every month, and it takes us 3 days to get it together, start thinking in your mind, how can we digitize that particular process? RPA is robotic process automation. It's simply creating robots, small, tiny. I call them small, tiny because they're small pieces of code that can do or can automate or can execute some tasks on your system. And I'll give you an example. We have this daily sellout reports in the company. So every day we want to know, based on our targets, where are we? right? Where are we in terms of selling to our customers? And so someone goes into our big SAP system, downloads a report of where the current of the orders that have come in from the customers. I say, okay, fine, I've gotten 5 orders. I'm expecting 10 this month. And then this person does some Excel manipulations and says we are at 50%, right? And then publishes that to the organization lead team every day. Now, this takes a lot of time because we have 7 major customers, 20 minor customers, maybe and another 100 minor customers. So to collate everything together can be a task. We created a tiny robot that goes into our SAP system, downloads all the required data, puts it into the right format in Excel, and prepares it for this person. So every morning by 7 a.m., my employee goes into the system, opens it up, and Excel is already there for him, done. He copies it into an Outlook sheet and clicks send. Eliminate every manual process he was doing in the past. Right? So RPA is another interesting technology that we can use to automate our business functions. Now, it might not necessarily be all about automation. You might actually want to transform the process entirely. I'll talk more of that when we discuss processes. Good. So Tepiso wants to annotate, right? Tepiso, please, can you use the chat functionality on WebEx if you have a question, so that we don't distract the webinar for the rest of the audience. Thank you very much. Good. Now, another idea behind digitization, data, and automation is to leverage the cloud. Now, I'm pretty sure we must have heard the cloud a few times. And the question is, what is the cloud? Right? The cloud is simply, in a nutshell, the internet. Right now, in the olden days, and I'm saying the olden days, even though some organizations still operate this way, but in the olden days, to buy a new piece of software, let me say an ERP like Sage, right? I need to buy huge servers in my system, in my office, right? And install Sage into my server. Then I'll have it available for me to use. If there is some power outages, what do we call it? If there is load shedding, yes, I'll probably lose my access to my data, etc., etc. What the cloud does is the cloud takes all my computational needs into the internet. So I simply need to connect to the internet and connect to someone's server somewhere in the US or in the Philippines, who cares, right? And install my apps in there and create anything I want to do on the internet. So it saves the organization the cost of hardware installations or server setups. Also saves you the cost of maintenance, because if you are a 20-man organization, you probably need a small server. But when you double your organizational size, you need a bigger server. And I'm trying to, I'm making this very generic. I'm trivializing it for understanding, but I'm sure you get the point. So, like, if I need a bigger server, I need to go and invest in a much more bigger capacity. But with the cloud, that is done automatically for you without thinking, right? So the next day, if you've gone past your capacity, the next day it's increased. So the cost of maintaining it, the cost of maintenance is sorely reduced. Also, it's also cost effective, because you will not need to invest in the high setup cost of huge servers, huge software, etc., etc. You can just get just what you want, pay as you earn, and pay maybe an installment fee every month, thereabout, to the software provider. So leverage the cloud. So whenever you want to get a new system or get a new software, ask yourself, is it in the cloud, right? And the cloud is right in front of us every day. If you use Gmail, you are working on the cloud. If you go to Facebook, you are working on the cloud, right? Because the infrastructure behind all of that, you are not seeing it. You're just seeing one page with all your data right in front of you. In fact, Facebook recently upgraded their look and feel, right? Their homepage. I'm pretty sure if you ever go on Facebook, you will see without any fanfare. It was done, and the next day we saw it. That's the perks of working on the cloud, right? Now, so whenever you are going to invest in technology, ask yourself or ask your partners, is it in the cloud? Now, investments, and I forgot to say this previously, investing in technology is not only investing in technological assets like software, hardware. You also need to invest in technological skills, right? And this was the step number 2 in our discussions with distributors. Yes, we'll need to ensure you have the buy-in, you understand what you're going to do. Secondly, you need to staff an IT department if you don't have one, because it is foolhardy to decide to embark on a digital transformational journey without the IT experts in-house guiding you along the way. Good. So leverage the cloud is important. Secondly, develop a data strategy. And this is interesting because data strategy, your data should be seen as a competitive advantage. It should be seen as a weapon. Data is a weapon in today's landscape, which is why the Facebooks and the Googles of this world will do anything possible, sometimes even close to unethical, to get your data, right? Because they understand the power of data. And you too, as business owners, should understand how important and critical data is to understand your business, your landscape, and also your competitive landscape. Now, how is this done? 3 simple steps, right? First of all, collect all your data sources, internally and externally, and then put it in the cloud. The reason why it's important to put it in the cloud is because so that they will be connected to each other and not be disjointed. So a couple of months ago, we had this huge problem in the company where we wanted to. It was taking a long time for us to react to our promotional strategies. So we run promotions every month in stores, right? And we need to know, are those promotions effective? But to get that done, we need to download a huge amount of sales data, promotional data, right? And then check which ones were on promotion, which ones were not, what dates were the promotions running. Do some manual calculations in Excel to figure out, are these promotions effective or not, based on different KPIs that I set. Either sales out, either is it giving me more sales, or my gross margins are improving, etc., etc. But it was taking so long that by the time we are reacting, a new promotion has come out, such that the work we were doing now is obsolete. So what we did was we took our sales data, which was in the cloud, and then our gross margin price list data also in the cloud, promotional calendars also in the cloud, put them all together, merged it with some nice machine language to really understand. And the machine language will tell you, I'll come to my machine language very, very soon. We'll simply say this, I'm going to break this down very simply. It says, which weeks am I on promotion? This week seems to be high, so I must be on promotion in that week. How do I compare with other competitors during that week? And we threw it into a nice dashboard for the organization. So every week, once the promotion ends, the next Monday or Tuesday, I see my promotional results in terms of effectiveness on my screen without doing any work by the salespeople. So that's an example of the pluses. Putting all my data in the cloud helps me. I can connect them very easily versus when they are in disjoint systems, in disjoint places. So step 1 is collect your data sources, put them in the cloud. Step 2, decide on the business biggest problems to tackle. Right. And always start with the biggest first. The ones that will give you the biggest help in terms of either in biggest numbers of sales or in biggest cost reduction or in biggest productivity, right? And then tackle it using the data, just like what I explained. We had all our data in the cloud, my GM said, Jide, this is a big problem here. What do we do? And then we brainstormed, figured it out using our data, using artificial intelligence, bam, and then we fixed it. Now, by the way, this took us 4 or 5 months thereabouts, and I'm simplifying it, right? But these 3 steps are what was taken to get this done. And of course, repeat. Once the one problem is solved, the next problem becomes the biggest, and keep doing it. Your data strategy is a live document that lists out all the biggest problems and all the data sources, and we start to tackle them one by one. Good. Then once my data strategy is clear, I can move into data analytics. And data analytics is an interesting process, right? Because first of all, you need to have data to be able to analyze data. So your data strategy is a prerequisite, right? So data must be available, must be connected, right? Together, there must be a problem to be solved, and then analytics becomes the tool that will be used to solve that problem. And I broke down analytics into 2: descriptive and prescriptive. Descriptive is simply looking backwards, right? Mining my data to say what was my performance in the past. All my financial bookkeeping reports, like balance sheets, P&L, they're all descriptive reports or descriptive analytics in a very, very basic form. There are more complex ones, but I'm sure that would resonate because it's looking behind, looking to the past to say what was my performance. Prescriptive is where it gets interesting. Prescriptive analytics uses mathematical models or statistical models to figure out what my future performance might be. So it says, based on my historical data, can I identify key trends or patterns in the data that can predict my future performance? And this is where we use machine learning and other artificial intelligence methodologies, right, to figure this out. Most organizations are in the descriptive phase, and it helps because it tells you where you are, and at some point you can easily use your gut feel to determine, okay, this is exactly where we would be. But it's a huge leap to move into prescriptive and to say, yes, based on our past data, where do we see our orders in November? Will this promotion do better in October? Right? We can forecast what our future performance would look like. Once again, Zwandile, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. You are requesting to annotate. Please use the WebEx chat. There's a chat functionality on the screen. Please just type in your questions. In a few slides, I'll pause for questions, and then I would answer them. Thank you, Zwandile. I apologize if I don't pronounce your name pretty well. Good. So one more thing to look out for is data privacy. And in this world that we are in, data privacy is important. And we need to put it at the back of our minds when we're developing our data strategy, especially with the POPI Act, right? I'm not sure if you're all aware of South Africa's Privacy Act called POPI. In Europe, it's called GDPR, right? California has its own act for the state of California. It simply says protect the privacy of the individuals that you have their data. Either they're your employees, or they're your customers, or they're your consumers. We've seen a lot of instances where systems have been hacked, right? And businesses have been held at ransom, right? Or consumer data have been leaked, right? Because data privacy was not top in mind. I won't mention the big giant tech firms that have been in these data privacy hot waters, but it's important, put it at the back of your mind that you follow the rule of law or the policy, right? Which is POPI Act for South Africa. Good. And I'll give you one example. Now, I'll give you one example, right, before we go very quickly into upskill. And I'm going to start going a little bit faster now, right? Since we're going to end our digitization, data, and automation piece, we're going to upskill piece very, 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 very fast. Agro Partnership is a group of farmers in Nigeria that decided to leverage a digital platform to crowdfund. Every year, they raise minimum of $1 million from customers that they do not know, and me being one of them. And all that is being used is a simple website with a nice payment platform behind it, right? And then with very, very good marketing communication. And they say, give us your money. We're going to use it to buy some farms, build some cassava or some cocoa or some pig farms or poultry. In 9 months, you get your money back with X% interest. Pretty simple. All backed up or all powered by technology, right? So the problem is source of finance. The tool is technology, and that solved that problem, right? And then of course we have a lot more examples, but this is a very simple and easy one to show you how the digitization, automation can really help boost or solve your biggest problems and help you ensure that you meet your business strategies. Move very quickly into upskill. Upskill is simple. Upskill simply says train your organization, right? That's all I'm saying, that from the basic to the advanced applications. Organizations typically make the assumption that every employee should know what they need to know, and we train them only on the functional skills: how to sell, how to market, how to clear containers from the port, But to ensure that they are much more productive, the employees need to be trained on how to engage their digital tools, from Excel to PowerPoint, even then for a few of them to the more advanced tools. Remember we said digital transformation is for everyone in the organization, not just a few IT people. Right now, when they learn this technology, they begin to connect the dots between the problems that they have and the technology available to solve the problem. And that's where true transformation starts to happen. When there is a bubble from ground up on what is possible. When it's not just the CEO who comes to say, let's do this, but the junior employee who says, I think we can do this better. Right? Most of our ideas in P&G in terms of automation have come from our junior employees. Because, well, first of all, they are millennials and they know what's possible. Right, and then of course there's an open atmosphere to bring in your ideas, and we also give the required training. So train your organizations to learn new digital skills and to do what I call overcome corporate digital inertia. Now this is where I'm going to ask you for your very quick interaction. Right, I'm going to put 2 slides on the screen right now, and I'll tell you in the second slide. I'll ask you to tell me what you think it's showing. Right, and I will explain what corporate digital inertia means. In the first slide, this shows you my technological rate of change, right? And then, of course, this is time. So this says that technology actually goes at a very fast rate of change. The iPhone came out just about 13 years ago. There, about the first iPhone, and we're all on iPhone 12 now. So one iPhone every year, kinda. Imagine how fast that rate of change is. But this is business productivity in the burgundy line, right? That means that here there is a gap in business performance, what you can actually do. So in other words, you are in a Lamborghini driving at 30 kilometers per hour, right? That's what it appears to be. But what is it actually? What is really happening? And this is by a study from Deloitte, by the way. I'll put all the references in the last slide so that you can read up on it if you want to. What is really happening? Now, look at this slide and type on the WebEx chat box what do you think this slide is saying. Right? What jumps out at you from this slide? The first curve we have, of course, technology has the highest rate of change. The second curve is the individuals, right? That's your everyday people. Have the next, they're catching up to technology. Technology is going very fast, but individuals are catching up. Businesses are the ones that aren't catching up as fast, right? And then, of course, public policy. And yes, I just saw a chart that says public policy is always lagging. That's very correct, which is why the US government is struggling to put in policies in place to ensure that data privacy is key in America after the infractions have happened. Right, and we're in 2017. We still don't have a signed POPI Act. We're in 2020. 2017. And we still don't have a signed POPI Act in South Africa. In any African country, actually, right? There's no Privacy Act being signed. Well, there are privacy infractions happening every day. So you're right. Public policy is lagging behind. But there's something also more important. Look at the individuals that are really catching up very fast to technology. They form part of businesses. Yes, thank you, Joseph. Individuals drive technology. Technology moving faster than everyone else. Exactly. The individuals are the ones in businesses, but the businesses are slow. So, in other words, the human beings that run the business are very good with technology in their private personal lives, but when they come into the business, they go back to status quo. And that's what I call corporate digital inertia. And I've seen it happen over and over again where we launch a new system and some employees are thinking, oh my God, I can't learn this system. But there's a new app that comes out and they can figure it out. Or Facebook changes their entire application on their phone, but they know how to post pictures, post videos, etc., etc. So in terms of catching up personally, they're pretty good. But in terms of when it comes to work, there's kind of like an inertia, a slowness, a hesitancy, right, from the individuals. Now that's not only because of this gap between individuals and businesses. The structure of the business, the processes of the business, the management style of businesses is also a reason why there is a lag between individuals and businesses here. So it's not all on the employees, but the employees have a part to play, which is why we need to upskill them to ensure that they have the skills to the digital skills to drive the business, but they also break that inertia and use those skills in driving the business. Good. I'll pause here for a second and then get any question and answers that will come in. We have just like 2 more slides or 3, and we'll finish it in very good time.
Great, Jide. We got quite a few questions that came in, and I think we can touch on a few now.
Sure.
The first one is P&G is making use of work fusion to implement intelligent automation. How do you drive the need for digital transformation without business feeling like employees will be replaced?
Interesting. And I was going to touch on that in my next slide, but then thanks for the question. Now, first of all, I'll talk non-digital and I'll talk digital. Right, non-digital, at least for P&G, we have what we call our PVPs, our purpose, values, and principles that are sacrosanct to how we work. Right, no one goes against our PVPs. Our business strategies may change, but our PVPs remain constant for over 175 years. Right, so and one of the PVPs says that we have mutual respect for every individual. Right, so there's hardly going to be any instance where the individual's work is automated and he becomes more productive or too productive that he has to leave the organization. It has never happened, and it most probably will never happen as a result of digitization. What will happen, and I'm going now into the digital part of this conversation, is that the individual can do much more value-adding work. Right, so we hire the very best of people, right, and putting them into repetitive tasks, right, can be quite daunting. So once we take that out, we allow the employee do what is actually value adding, right? Take actions on the data, take actions on the insights versus mining the insights. Our salespeople, for instance, should be out there selling, out there bringing in orders, not trying to figure out what my promotions did 2 months ago. Right. So once we automate and create more time for the individual, the idea is there is much more work, value-adding work that comes on the plate of the individual to meet the strategy of the business. So saying, I'm sorry, we don't need you. Right. I hope that answers that question. Thank you very much.
Great. And another one comes with relation to a company that's a virtual accounting firm. Using platforms such as Xero. From their perspective, clients are hesitant to sign up because they're very used to doing accounting in the olden or how it was done in the olden days. Any recommendations on how to educate clients with this new digital and virtual platform.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, and that is an issue every IT person can appreciate, because we are. Let me go back to the slide. We are somewhere here, somewhere in this place, right? All our businesses are here. We're trying to bring them forward, right? So I understand that question pretty well. Two things that have worked for me in the past, right? And the first one is to create one success story, right? Just one. As in, it can be your brother or your brother's company or your whatever. And this is how we do it when we try to sell to our distributors. We sell to one pretty well, right? Get the buy-in and develop a success story, right? We'll say, and then for instance, when I was in Nigeria, we were trying to give our distributors a sales automation system, right? And it was pretty tasking to make them change from writing their orders on papers to giving them tablets, right? To punch in their orders so that we can get the data in the cloud and do all those nice fun things that I was telling you about. So we went to the one who was the best in terms of technology, right? And by best I mean it was not the best in terms of best in class, but among all our distributors, he was the best. We sold it to him, did a pilot, got some very good success stories. Our reps were spending less time in stores. So when a rep goes to a store, a small kiosk, he usually spend maybe 15 minutes or 30 minutes. After we finished our system, the rep started spending 5 minutes. Massive reduction in time. That means that the rep can cover more stores. Now this goes back to the first question. We're not going to reduce our reps because we've gotten much more productive. We say cover more stores and give us more money, right? Win-win for everybody. So once we got that insight and that success story, we shared it with everybody else. And it was easy to buy in and easy to appreciate, like to see your colleague who has the same situation as you doing it differently and getting better results. Right. That's the best way I think you should approach this. And then of course dumb it down. Right. So sometimes the technology can seem too high up there. Bring it down to the everyday man's level. Use his terms that the business leader would understand. And that should also help.
Great. There are a few more questions, Jide, but I think in the interest of time, let's wrap up your presentation and we can come to that at the end. Good. Thank you very much. I just saw a quick question on what cloud platform would I recommend. Try Google. Right. It's free to a certain extent that would benefit a small scale organization. Right. And then if that doesn't work, you can also try Microsoft. So Google and Microsoft have small packages for small businesses that are actually very effective. Good. Now, when you train the organization, you also need to incentivize a few digital champions. Right? And this is the chart I wanted to show you. Right now, this chart is not saying a number of employees would reduce. It's saying that the amount of man hours needed to do a particular work will reduce. So if I need one person to run this report, at the end of my digital upskilling, I'll need half a person, right? Because that half of his time has been saved, which is why there's a difference here based on my improved digital capability, which was the answer to the first question that we have. Good. I would run through this very quickly because we are almost out of time. Technology to improve the way you do business. Right, your new applications and new technology on that you're buying, you're investing in, should not create a parallel process, and that is the risk. In Nigeria, we found out that the reps were punching in their sales orders, but still carrying papers to write it down, right, twice. And sometimes you'll know that one will be correct, one will not be correct. So it was hell for a period of time until we stopped all paper completely. Right. So with every new technology, you ask yourself, what are we going to stop? Now we are currently eliminating manual reports. I'll tell you, some people will still keep doing their manual reporting in the company. After a while, we're going to stop it. Everybody will go to the system to pull out your report. So the process should change, right, as a result of the new technology that comes out. Now there should also be a few behavioral changes too.
right? That you should begin to expect as a business leader. First of all, you should start expecting live insights. Data should be from last week or yesterday, not from 3 months ago. So real-time data should start flowing into your business decision-making sessions. Right? You should also try to experiment and fail very fast. Experiment. If it's not working, stop it, move to the next one. Versus a fear of failure or a risk-averse culture. Right. And then of course, there should be heightened collaboration. The new hire should be able to talk to the CEO on Skype or on Teams or whatever platform you have. With data, sales data will be seen by the finance guys, right? Inventory data will be seen by the IT guys. There should be no silos between your departments. It should be very flat as much as possible versus hierarchical. In essence, your digital culture will start to emerge. You'll start having a digital culture as a result of your technology and the process changes that are happening. That's exactly what the digital transformation is all about. In assessing your organization, it's simply, where are we? Some companies decide to do this first. They'll say, okay, we need to assess our organizations first and then do a gap analysis to say we are more technology savvy in this, we need to be more in this. So all our plans and our investments and our trainings will go into the gaps that we see. And this can be done via simple surveys, or there are more intensive tools like the OCAI, which is the Organizational Culture Assessment Instrument. Pretty cool. You should check that out. I'll put in the link in the reference section, right? And then there's the OPM. There's a lot of tools out there to generate organizational self-awareness. So you know where you are, and you can develop very, very relevant plans for the future. Good. And that's it. The cycle continues, right? Org buy-in, critical. Invest in digital apps and skills, right? Grow the skills of your people, right? Upskill them. Your process must change or must be updated or transformed slightly or dramatically. And then, of course, assess where you are and use that assessment into fueling new plans and continue evolving and keeping at pace with the rapid change in technological trends. There we have it. So thank you very much, guys. If there's any other questions, maybe I'll take a few before we end. I think we are just right out of time right now. Mikhail?
Great, Jide. Let me look through the questions quickly.
Maybe just one more.
So there's a question here that says, are equivalent of DPOs required for audits in SA? What is your criteria at P&G for appointing external DPOs, if any?
So now, because the POPI Act is not signed yet, so the document is already prepared, right? The Privacy Act for South Africa, and the Act states that we should have an information officer, right? That will be external facing in case the audits come in and the government, etc., etc. So we are currently in conversation behind having someone from our legal team on this particular role. Right now, organizations differ, right? So you can decide to get in someone specifically as your DPO, which the POPI says is information officer, or you can get someone in-house. The legal person in our organization seems to be the best suited for the role because of her legal background and our understanding of the privacy laws, right? So she is the one currently handling the DPO role for P&G. So my advice is you have two options. The best option is choose the person who is either the person who is more knowledgeable about the laws or more knowledgeable about the data. So I work very closely as the CIO with my legal person. Right, so her and myself, we work together very closely, but she's the one that will represent the company from an external point of view as the DPO. Hope that answers the question.
Great. And the last one before we end off is data analytics done in-house at P&G or is it outsourced? And if you could give insight into what cloud platform P&G uses.
Okay, good. So we do it in-house, right? So we have a very huge Microsoft Azure instance, right, that covers our entire AMA region. I'm talking Asia Pacific, Middle East, and Africa. So it's pretty huge. And then we have a nice instance for South Africa, right? So and so we use Microsoft Azure as our technology, and then we build our reports on Power BI. Power BI comes with your O365. Everybody here can have it, and you can use Excel, by the way, on a Google Cloud. Right? You can put Excel on a cloud, link it to Power BI, and you get the same level of reports that I will get in PNG. But the thing is, my quantum of data is huge, too huge for Excel, right? Or too huge for a small database. So we use Azure, and then of course Power BI will be the visualization or reporting layer on top of it. I hope that answers that question also. Good. So then, just want to say thank you before I pass it on and close. Thank you very much, guys, for your questions, for your attention, for your interaction. I hope you've gained one or two things from the conversation. As I said, in the slides, I would also have a reference slide, right? And that will give you all the pre-reads and further readings if you want to get more information. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jide. That was amazing. I wish we had more time. That's a lot of information to digest. One of the big takeaways for me was that we're driving Lamborghinis at 30 kilometers per hour. That's quite breathtaking to think about, but there's a lot to do around digitization. So we really appreciate your time. Maybe we can get you back for another second chapter, because I think some of the topics you were covering in there almost had a webinar of their own within that. So great. And for everybody who joined, thank you very much. We really appreciate you taking the time. We've got 6 more webinars in this series between WeConnect and Procter and Gamble. So we've got more Procter and Gamble experts who you get to listen to and share ideas with. If you're not registered with WeConnect International, please go to our website, weconnectinternational.org, and please register your woman-owned business. You'll get invitations to webinars like this. And I know we've got our Nigeria counterparts on the line. They're also putting together some really amazing webinars. Just this week, they had a webinar on doing business with the UN. If you're on our database, you'll get invitations to those amazing webinars. So that's it. So I'd like to say good afternoon and a great Friday to everybody. Stay safe, and we'll see you on the next webinar, which is on the 8th of June. Thanks, DJ. That was really amazing. And thanks, Mikhail.
Thank you, John. Thank you very much. Have a good day, guys. Bye-bye.
Okay. And we will be sharing the slides and the recording. Just give us a little bit of time to get it through to HQ and download, and then you'll get the link and you'll be able to see all the other webinars on the WeConnect Academy too. Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.